this moment. And don't worry, I'm not going to do a Glenn Beck on you here. I don't mean that kind of drama. But that, you know, this really, we're going through a very historic moment. The ice that has been the landscape that we all have known has broken up into smaller pieces, and they're now floating around. The pieces are being rearranged. And that is, there's a sense of dread about that, because there's a lot of unknown. We don't know how those pieces are going to realign. But there's also some excitement and drama to it, because I think if you think about the trajectory of the world and human history, the arc of that trajectory has always bent towards betterment in the longer term. It's the shorter term that sometimes is painful and problematic. But you think about the rights of women and minorities and lots of disenfranchised peoples that are in many ways better today than they ever have been before, though by no means is that work finished. And so I think we're at another historic moment right now. We're living through a time that, especially for those of us who are younger, we've never lived through an economic collapse of historic proportions. And I was just 2 days ago, I was participating in a conference in Budapest, sponsored by some of the leaders of Europe. There were 3 prime ministers there, many members of European parliaments, and ministers and NGOs and think tanks in Europe. And you can feel their sense of, as they try to grapple with, where is the United States going? What does it mean that, you know, that about the transatlantic relationship? What does it mean about China and India and Brazil? And really feeling this sense of that Europe is in some ways carving out something really quite innovative, yet there's a lot of challenges going forward. So there really couldn't be a better time to be having this discussion about the future, which is based on the past and which takes off from the present. And so in that sense, I offer this book, Europe's Promise. What Europe's Promise is about, really, it's the story of post-World War II Europe and how it transformed itself from a place of military warring nations, which it had been for centuries, into, in many ways, a model for how a modern society can develop itself, can take care of its people, can foster what I call peace and prosperity partnerships with its neighbors, and do all that in a way that's as environmentally sustainable as possible. Because the premise of the book is that the world is facing 2 immense challenges. And these are the 2 challenges that our generations are being called to answer and to provide solutions to, and that's going to build the world for our children. And those 2, the premises are, how do we identify the institutions and practices that are going to allow a burgeoning global population of 6.5 billion people to enjoy a decent standard of living? Or another way of saying it is, how are we going to allow the Chinas and the Indias and the Brazils to have their seat at the table, which they unquestionably deserve? And how do we do that without burning up the planet and a Venus atmosphere of our own creation? These are 2 enormous challenges, and amidst the headlines, a lot of times these 2 get lost. And certainly, global climate change is not being talked about very much recently as we face this economic crisis. And what it really means, what it boils down to, is that the wealthy countries, like the United States, like the European countries, Japan, are going to be asked to do more with less. The word productivity is going to become increasingly important as our economy, the amount of wealth produced by an economy, is going to need to take care of more people than it ever has before. Do you have the institutions and the values to do that? The amount of energy your society uses is going to be asked to produce, the amount of fuel is going to be asked to produce more energy. Do you have the innovations and the technologies and the values to do that? Is your healthcare system going to be effective in taking care of your population? These are the questions that every advanced, wealthy, capitalist country is facing as they now deal with the debts that they've racked up in the post-World War II period as part of the economic solution at that time that called for this kind of deficit spending in order to enact the societies that we all have enjoyed. So these are pretty immense challenges. And